Hey, welcome to another exciting edition of the Fueling Station. I'm your host, Ed Kammerer, along with my co-host, my good friend, Jonathan Stong.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again. We're loving this.
Retail Fueling, the Pod-troleum Guys. So the podcast that talks about all the exciting things that happens in the world of retail fueling. So if you've been following us, you know that we did an episode live from our manufacturing floor in Smithfield, North Carolina. And we had such a great response. People loved the fact that we were there right on the floor talking about manufacturing processes. We thought we would come back to the shop floor and talk about one of the other exciting processes that OPW does here in Smithfield, and that is pipe extrusion. So everybody knows OPW is famous for their nozzles, but guess what? We're also a pretty famous pipe manufacturer as well. We've been doing it since 1997 when we first launched our PISCES, our first flex pipe line. And so we're here, standing right next to the extrusion head. I'm looking at these 7 beautiful Davis standard extrusion heads where all the magic happens here on the shop floor in Smithfield. I'm looking at a beautiful blue 1.5-inch pipe coming off the extruder. Actually, when it first comes out of the extrusion heads, it's actually kind of a clear whitish material. Then it goes through a cooling bath. And then once it's cooled, it goes through the next set of extrusion heads where they actually put the secondary jacket on top of it as it comes out. And then it's rolled up on the spool. A beautiful roll of 1.5-inch pipe on a 1,000-foot spool. But again, so we want to come back to the shop floor, talk about these processes. And so today we want to talk about piping. It's been a great product for OPW. We're really good at it, and a lot of people buy a lot of it. I think last month alone, we extruded over 200,000 feet of pipe, here in this facility. So Jonathan, let's talk about, the construction of a flex pipe and, maybe the processes that there are, some of the materials that are used, and, what separates maybe OPW from the other guys. But before we do that, let's just talk about extrusion in general. This is where you came from.
Yeah.
You worked for the company that inhabited this building before we acquired it in 2006. Environ. So, you've really cut your teeth in the world of petroleum fueling with pipe extrusion. And I can't think of anybody better to talk about. How many conversations have you and I had, in front of people giving presentations?
Well, that's right. And that's something that's been consistent within the OPW family as the main aspect of the OPW pipe work has been to get that low zero permeation rating. And we do that by the use of a PVDF that called Kynar. And Kynar is a sparse or a rock. It's a fluorite, so it's incredibly dense. And this material, when processed by our partners, gives us the ability to extrude pellets. So that barrier resin that's on the inside of that pipe, that's molecularly bonded to the structural polyethylene of the primary pipe, helps give us that low permeation rate. It also gives us that wonderful hoop strength and tensile strength for the piping. It gives us that quote-unquote flexibility we need to maintain connection of all the pipe fittings inside the containment chambers. Also gives us the ability to produce this pipe in sticks, reels, or in boxes so we can get to the job and be managed by the contractor as they need it. A true seamless pipe, a truly bonded pipe, and it's something that you and I definitely are passionate about for so many years since we started.
Yeah, Jonathan, you and I have been working together now for what? What's 2006 to here?
Oh my God, a lot.
16 years.
Yeah, 16 years.
Selling pipe, going around the world selling pipe,
Absolutely.
and praising the glorious Flexworks Kynar pipe. And you hit on it. So as we look here, I'm looking at these hoppers, and again, I know it's a podcast, so we'll try and describe it as visually as we can. But there's big hoppers of these small pellets, these grains of plastics. There's Kynar, there's polyethylene, there's nylon, there's barrier layers. And you see these tubes that suck it up out of these hoppers, and it goes in the extrusion head. It's basically melted, and a big screw kind of turns this stuff out and onto a mandrel, and it actually extrudes the pipe as it comes out. But I think there's other ways that you can make pipe, correct?
Yeah, there are. There are forming ways with stainless steel using bolsters, or there's like a mandrel wrap, and that's more prevalent in this industry for fiberglass, where you're making a fiberglass pipe, you're mandrel wrapping as the pipe is going down a line. There's a wrap that pulls all the way around that gives them that consistency of the pipe work. But that's not what we do. Like you're saying, and we use pellets versus strands and fibers, and we're able to extrude this pipe consistently, really to any length that we need, as long as it's manageable by the individuals on the other side, with the spools.
Now, when comparing our pipe to other flex pipe manufacturers, one thing that really separates us, and the things that we've talked about since day one when OPW launched a flex pipe, is the bonding of those layers.
That's right.
Each of those materials. So let's talk about a little bit, how important is that bonded layer versus extruding a pipe with just a layer over top of a layer over top of a layer without those layers actually coming together or bonding.
Sure.
Let's talk about a bonded layer.
A bonded pipe is going to be more structurally sound. You heard me say about hoop strength and tensile strength. Those are just standards for TEF to find the strength of a product. Tensile being linear and hoop being crush resistivity. So with a bonded pipe, you're going to have much more a higher burst pressure too. You're going to have a homogeneous pipe that the pipe, as it's installed, functions as one consistent pipe. If you look at some of our competitors, they have multiple layers within their pipe of multiple materials. So those materials actually can move and shift underground during the life expectancy of the station. Where ours, after day one, in year 10 is going to be consistent. There's a potential for non-bonded pipe to have movement and causing stress on joints and fittings within the system. Again, a bonded pipe is just more structurally sound. It's going to also help minimize the amount of permeation, or what's also called diffusion within the pipe.
See, guys, I told you, Jonathan, if you want to talk about pipe extrusion, he's the guy to talk to. So, Kammerer. Kammerer has been the secret of OPW pipe. Not a secret because we tell everybody that we use it.
Absolutely.
But it's really what kind of separated us. And, the years that we've been doing this, the 25 years that OPW has been making a flex pipe, a lot of other companies have fallen along the wayside along the way because they use material other than Kammerer.
Right.
The benefit of Kammerer, you touched on it. It's one of the most dense plastic. It's almost, from a permeation standpoint, it's great, and we use it throughout the pipe, not only the liner of the pipe, but, other areas of the pipe and outside the pipe. Because you and I both know, if you're in the petroleum industry, not everything, certainly the inside of the pipe will see product, but not every sump is maintained. And sometimes those sumps can keep product in them over long periods of time.
Absolutely.
So the outside of that pipe sees product as well.
Sure. And even down on the ground. I mean, respectfully, we'd like to think every station is a virgin station, but the truth of the matter is they're not. And sometimes you go back into stations where, yes, you want clean backfill, you want to tamp properly, but there might be some bloom left in that ground from a previous station. We don't know. So we just want to protect that pipe. So again, external attack and internal attack, you're connected on all surfaces with an OPW FlexWorks pipe, absolutely.
And it all comes down to this extruder. Extruding that Kammerer in the liner,
That's
and
right.
extruding that Kammerer on other layers of the pipe and on the outside of the pipe. The other great thing about Kammerer is our pipe, can be used in almost every application in our industry. It can be used with diesel. It can be used with any blend of ethanol.
That's right.
From E5 to E85 to E100.
DEF.
Biodiesel,
Yep.
B20, B100, and you just hit it, DEF.
Yep.
Not a lot of people know our pipe is completely compatible with DEF.
Absolutely. I think it's important. It's the versatility. We design a pipe to meet and exceed the expectations of today, but ultimately what we think is going to happen, in the future. Since we are a manufacturer, we have the ability to produce not only different sizes of pipe, but formulations approved by third parties that we can manage these situations around the world that you necessarily couldn't predict, these global pandemics, situations for supply. I think what OPW has done a good job in is that's exercising our third-party approvals, and pipe work is one of those where we have the most extensive amount of approvals.
Right. I mean, we're UL-listed for product, for vent, for vapors.
Yep. For suction, for pressure, for delivery, for all different applications.
Oh, I'm looking at a bunch of different sizes here. We extruded in 3/4 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch, and all the way up to 3 inch.
That's right.
Which, last year we rolled out our high flow loop system where, you put a 3-inch FlexWorks pipe at a truck stop, and guess what? You get all the flow that you need and all the advantages of a flex pipe that can be installed inside a chase pipe that gives you the retractability. Because what do we always talk about? Replaceability, retractability, maintainability, inspectability, all of that above grade without ever having to cut concrete.
That's right. This system, the pipe work, everything that goes into it has evolved exponentially. But one constant has been Kammerer.
Yep.
One constant has been Kammerer, because when you find something that works, you stick with it. Now things evolve and recipes may change or regulation changes, but this constant. You know, they say trust the science with a lot of things. This is a science. This extrusion is a science, and OPW respectfully has perfected it for this industry.
Hey, not only do you trust the science, but you trust the process.
Trust the process.
And looking at this extrusion equipment that we have got a heck of a process that's been trusted for a long period of time. We've been doing this a long time.
You know, you've been here when other manufacturers have come in to try to work with us to try to fight for our business, and they're like, how are you guys doing this? It's amazing to watch it because, you know, if you don't know what you're looking at, it can be confusing. But when you're dialed in and you realize that, again, to use that science, when you see it, it makes perfect sense. And there's no other material, no other pipe in the world that I'd want to use. I mean, you guys have made fun of me for years. I say our pipe is like a linear tank because once it's inoculated with fuel, it's got pipe in it. We're fueling it 24 hours a day. So it's sitting there like an underground tank. We need it to be robust.
So I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. Again, thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed another edition of the fueling station with Johnny and Ed, your Pod-troleum guys.